Hi, as we are looking at the back of page 11, so 11b, our goal is that I can represent data on a scatter plot. So you'll see that the table shows the height and arm spans of students in the classroom. So this first row is the height, and the second row is the arm span. The first thing says plot the data on the scatter plot. So your height, it is your independent variable. It is your x value. And so you are going to do those down here. And then your arm span, that's the dependent variable. So as height increases, you would expect something to happen to the arm span. Okay, so arm span's up here. Looking at your height, your lowest number looks to be 56 and your highest number is 68. So we need to make sure that both 56 and 68 are on our x value of the graph. Well, since we don't have any data and it's not really going to mess anything up for us not to start at 0, you're going to see that I broke this line. It's like, remember as a kid when you did 1, 2, skip a few, 99, 100? This is kind of the graph version of that. So you put a little lightning thing that says that you're breaking the graph and that you're not going to put the data from 0 to 50. So that would put this right here as 50, 55, 60, 65, and 70. Remember, I love using this graph paper because you only have to label every fifth one instead of every little one because you can see the lines that are bolded. So label these 55, 60, 65, 70, and then your Y's, your smallest one, here's a 54, looks like that's the smallest one, and then your highest one looks to be a 69, unless I missed one. And so you need to make sure that you can go from 54 to 69. And so we can break the graph again, start the bottom at 50 and go up by 5. So 5, 55, and then go 5 more and you're at 60, 65, and then the top of the graph will be 70. Now you're going to plot the actual data. So your first point is 56 height, arm span is 54. So here's 56, here's 55, so you go over one more, and then you're going to go up to 54. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to put a point. You're going to do the same thing for 57. So here's 57, and you have one at 57, which would be up here, and then you have another one at 54. So that's where this point comes from. So you're going to continue to plot these points all the way to the very end. I'm going to do the last one that's listed here. So we have 68, 67. So if here's 70, go back to, here's 68, there's 55, 60, 65, and I need to get up to 67. So 1, 2, and I'm up just a little on my graph, so I apologize for that. Then it says, does the scatter plot support the claim that the arm span and height are almost or are about equal for most people? So if they're equal, that means that your height and arm span will be the same number. So when we go through the graph and we start circling those, we have 57, 60, 62, 67. So it's not exact that the height and the arm span are the same number, but they're all, if you look, they're all pretty close. So I just said it's close, but maybe not exact. Number 3 says, if each student in the class had an arm span equal to height, what equation would relate these two variables? Well, if we're using height, or we're using S for arm span, H for height, and we're saying that they're equal, then we're just putting an equal sign between our H and our S. Okay? And then we can make that look like a graph. So if we're doing this, your height is your X. So if we're saying that the ratio is the same, like so that means the rate of change, the slope is the same, it'd be like 1H plus 0 because there is no B over here. So you're looking in Y equals MX plus B form, it'd be S equals 1 times H plus 0, okay? Or you can keep this because that would say the same thing. B says graph that equation on the scatter plot. So if you're going to graph S equals 1H plus 0, you're going to start down here at 0, and I know we've skipped some, but we'll make it work. So start here at 0. We're going to go up 1 and over 1 because your slope is going to be 1 over 1. So rise over run, rise over run. So up 1 over 1, and you're just going to keep going up 1 over 1. And you're going to see that it makes this line right here. Since the slope is 1 and we went by the same scale for both our x's and our y's, you could just put a point here, put a point at the top diagonal, and draw the line through the diagonal. So if the graphing the line doesn't make sense to you yet, that would be okay. Next, it says, which data points does your line pass through? It's going to pass through the same ones that we just talked about, 57, 57, 62, 62, 67, 67, and 60, 60. So it's the ones where h equals s. Those are the ones that our line passed through. It says, choose a data point that's not on your line, and how are they related to the relationship on the graph? So I chose 58, 61. So I chose this one right here. How does it relate? Well, it's too high for the line. That means that their arm span goes up quicker than their height. Because their height was only 58, their arm span went up to 61. You could also choose, if you wanted to choose one that was too low, you could go to 57, 54. So that means their height is taller than their arm span. So either one of those would be okay. If you were to add the tallest person in history, which is Robert Pershing Wadlow, he was 8 foot 11 inches, and his arm span was 9 feet 5.75 inches. Would that be on your line, above it, or below it? Well, since his arm span is taller than his height, if we have arm span and then the height is taller, it's going to be above the line. And then Tyrannosaurus rex, if he stands 20 feet high with an arm span of 10 feet, would it fit on or below? Well, if you think 20 feet high, but then 10 feet in the arm span, it's going to fit below because the arm span is smaller than the height. So to summarize here, what is a scatter plot? It shows the relationship between two numerical pieces of data. And how can you use the line of best fit to show the relationship? Get as many points on the straight line as possible. Notice a lot of people when we're making scatter plots didn't use a straight line of best fit. But for it to be a line of best fit, it has to be straight. Thanks for watching. Again, these are your notes for 11B.